Alright, so I've said it before and I'll say it again. My Hero Academia has the best spin-off series in the game right now. From Vigilante's greatness to the humor in the comedic Smash spin-off, and now this new series is full of greatness. Here on Plot Armor, we do our best to bring you guys the highest quality videos possible, and not only aim to entertain the manga readers, but also those of you that choose the anime only route. Videos like this one and our many other video series are examples of that. Season 4 ended recently, and for the anime only fans, it'll be a while before there's any new content. But on the channel, we'll give you guys tons of content to drown in until then. Don't worry. So if you're not subscribed, hit that button below and a little bell next to it to never miss out. Now with that said, let's get into the video. My Hero Academia Team Up Missions is the latest series added to the collection of My Hero Academia content. It's illustrated by Yoko Akiyama, not Kohei Horikoshi. So if the art seems familiar but a little different, don't be confused, this is official content. Now as for whether or not the content in the story is canon, I would say it's not. So instead look at it as fun side stories featuring the cast we all love, like fanfiction, but official. The story starts off at UA with All Might addressing Class 1A, buffed up with his muscle form for a brief moment. He would then get into the explanation announcing a new program. The students had recently received their provisional licenses and were now ready to work as heroes in even more situations. With that, he'd begin to explain team up missions. The program is for students and pro heroes nationwide and is an attempt at increasing the level of communication among heroes. Justified by explaining that when the students become pros, they'll often have to work with heroes they were not familiar with prior. It's tough to work with someone you don't know, and it's also hard when you don't know the compatibility of your quirks, making team up missions a great starting point to prepare for those times ahead. All Might also added that they're linking up with other schools, leading to Asui wondering if Shiketsu and Ketsubutsu High School will be joining up, which you'll all be happy to know All Might confirmed is possible. To me, all this means is more Kami, but take from that what you will. It was then time. The team's already been decided, there was no need for waiting. The students would be told to meet up with the pro hero listed in their envelopes on the assigned date, but before that, it was time to find out the teams. Midoriya would nervously open his envelope to find out that his team would include the classmates, Uraraka and Bakugo. Uraraka was her usual cheerful self, Deku was his usual nervous self, and Bakugo reacted the way we'd all expect. All Might was quick to shut down that fire though, back in his muscle form again to point out that teamwork is important. And so, with this new program, the students would go to work with a pro hero. Upon arrival, Deku would excitingly note that they'd arrived, and told the others to come along, of course leading to Bakugo asking why he's taking the lead, calmed by Uraraka reminding him of All Might's words about the all-important teamwork. The location was a modest building, and inside the three would then sit and wait for their pro hero, Uraraka next to Deku, and Bakugo sitting alone across from them. This was of course serious work, but I feel like the victims of third wheeling could relate with this image. While sitting, the three would wonder if they're at the right place. Uraraka would point out that the location was just a hotel, it didn't seem like a hero agency, followed by Bakugo saying that it better not be some small fry hero. It was then that we get a shot of the goddess herself, only arm in sight, confirming the identities of all three students. To the shock of the students, it was the rabbit hero, Mirko. She would quickly explain that the location was just temporary lodging. She doesn't have a hero agency. Our encyclopedia, Deku, would elaborate, explaining that Mirko is a new type of hero that jumps around all of Japan instead of just staying in one jurisdiction, adding on the fact that she doesn't have any sidekicks, so the three were getting a rare opportunity. Deku would then begin to explain that they were here today to help, but would be stopped by Mirko saying, no thanks. She was obeying orders by taking them in, but she works better when she can fight alone, pausing before adding that they were free to follow her though, if they want. With that said, it was on. We then cut to a scene of Bowser, I mean a villain, running wild right before the rabbit hero Mirko entered the scene with force, landing a vicious kick that sent the villain to dreamland. Midoriya and Uraraka were impressed, even noting how she remembered to add fan service with her pose after the attack, something that I'm sure fans of the series themselves would be eating up. Shortly after, in the same area after the fight, a child would accidentally let go of his orca balloon. For a moment, it seemed like it'd keep floating away. However, showing quick reaction speed, Uraraka would use her quirk to swiftly float up and grab the balloon before it was too late. She didn't take out the villain, but making citizens smile and putting people at ease is also the job of a hero. and she'd fulfill that and was thanked by the now smiling child. This would encourage Deku, who was now thinking that he too ought to do his best, but then came that voice asking where the villains were. It was Bakugo. He was donning an almost murderous looking expression, something I'd say we haven't seen too much of since season 1. While dealing with this outburst from Bakugo, someone would bump into Midoriya. The cloaked and masked man would ask Midoriya if he's a hero, leading to him explaining that he's still a student, but working as a hero at the moment as a part of his education. The mysterious man would respond, almost enviously, so you can use your quirk freely then. How nice. I won't elaborate on it, it should be pretty obvious, but the story would then take a turn that is very much relevant to our current society, I'll say. The man would show signs of sickness, coughing while Deku asked if he's feeling alright, and pointing out paleness. The man forced a response, saying that Deku ought to not get too close to him, and began walking away. Yeah. Bakugo from behind would look on, almost as if he knew something was off. The story then takes us back to Mirko's rest spot, if you can even call it that, where we see her eating a carrot and making a point. About today, I don't plan on teaching you guys things, but let me say one thing. And she then raised her voice at Bakugo, and to everyone's surprise, said, "That's straight up intent to kill the villain? It's great." She then complimented Uraraka and left Midoriya thinking that he's the only one she hadn't said anything about, before she would suddenly bluntly state that he didn't do anything. The story would then take a dark turn. In the shadows of an alleyway, again was that man, hand on the wall. "It's time." Sweating profusely, he continued, "It's time to release my quirk. I have to hurry up." The day was calm, but then came a fog. It began causing people to pass out suddenly, seemingly from nothing. It was then that at the hotel again, we hear a cry for help. "Save me! I was surrounded by fog and it made me feel sick when I breathed." The attention of Mirko and the students would then be pointed at the TV. Breaking news. Sarumai district in chaos after a toxic fog has filled the streets, shortly followed by. The source of the fog is believed to be Takeshi Bujima, user of the quirk poisonous gas. It was him, the cloaked man with the mask from earlier. Deku would ask Mirko what she's going to do, leading to her staying true to herself, responding, "What do you think? A villain has appeared, I gotta go kick their butt." We then cut to the scene of the action where Deku was using his flicks to clear the air, now using the mask on his costume. Great to finally see that, by the way. Great touch to this spin-off. If this spin-off does nothing else, it at least brought us this. Also on the scene though was Mirko, saving some kids, and Uraraka floating above the city on the lookout for the enemy. The two were also wearing masks as protection from the poison. Uraraka would spot him, headed for the edge of town, running frantically, yelling for the heroes to stay out of his way. The hunt was on. Bakugo blasts off after hearing the news, now in pursuit. Deku was clueless as to what this villain could want, but Bakugo knew, and he replied he just wants to free his quirk. "I know all too well how people envious of those with quirks look, Deku." Damn. Bakugo would reach the man who was still on the run, now seemingly trapped between Bakugo from behind and a crowd in front. He'd think to himself that there were too many people and change directions, turning into another alleyway. Bakugo with amazing movement would catch up, and so would Uraraka, Mirko, and Midoriya. Everyone was ready to charge in for the capture, none hungrier than Bakugo, but he'd be stopped by Deku, who now stood in his way. Deku would explain that the man might have reasons, pointing out that he's avoided areas with people and tried not to cause damage. He'd then end off asking the man if he'd now grown unable to suppress his poison. The man would confess, "Exactly, my quirk is a dangerously poisonous gas. If I don't use it, it accumulates inside me," adding on that society prohibits the use of quirks, so he has no choice but to let it build up inside his body. However, he'd reached his limit and now, full of emotion, with gas oozing out, state that, "I had to unleash my quirk before it destroyed me. What do you think? Does that make me a villain? Tell me, hero." They all looked at the man who was now on the floor. Midoriya pondered about what he should do to help, but Bakugo would be the first to speak. "So that's what this is all about. Then let it out." Mirko would interrupt all this and ask Bakugo if he intended to help the villain with his plan, but Deku would interrupt her, stating that Bakugo likely has a plan. Uraraka would for the first time in a while chime in too, adding that she trusts Bakugo also, leaving Mirko to only think to herself, surprised to see how trusted Bakugo is. The poisonous man would hesitate, however, stating that he's been holding it in for years and that it'll affect too many people, including the heroes there. But Bakugo would in his own way try to shut this down before Deku attempted to and succeeded in calming down the man with a smile. Bakugo would then ask Uraraka to make them float, leading to him floating up, followed by the poisonous man. Now way up in the sky, Bakugo would yell, "Let it all out! All of your quirk!" But the man was terrified, now remembering the words of the heroes asking him to trust them. He would then let the gas out. A hero's job isn't to beat villains. Bakugo would then use his explosions to blast all of the gas, creating endless explosions in the area, setting the sky on fire. A hero's job is to save people who are in trouble. The two would land and Bakugo would check on the man, now without his hood and mask, revealed to be a child, who was now thanking them with tears in his eyes. The police would be later informed, but this was the end of the team up. His mistakes weren't forgiven, but after the story made the news, a lot of people signed a petition to try and get his sentence lightened. The students would return to UA, and All Might would hear all about everyone's experiences before announcing that their next team up had already been decided, before beginning to then hand out their new envelopes. That was the end of the story. If you enjoyed this type of content, be sure to let us know in the comments or by dropping a like. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Plot Armor for some of the best My Hero Academia content on YouTube. Until next time, I'm KJ. Have a great day. Bye.